To you just moments before receiving our high school diplomas. I'd like to start off by giving a round of applause to Megan, Lourdes, and Stephen for their words and performances today. And of course, to our true champions, our parents and families who have been there every step of the way. Thank you for the support you've given us. In the past 48 hours, this script of mine has changed more than 5 times. It is too difficult to leave you with one message or one call to action. Many of us began our journey here 4 years ago and have seen each other's progression over that time. And that's something that I want to begin with by mentioning one of our graduates, Michael Martin, who in 9th grade, he's sitting over here, had braces, wore a fedora, and for a short time even had dreadlocks. Mike has a reputation for being passionate about what he believes in and regularly argues his viewpoints in a very lawyerly fashion. His father is a lawyer, so he can credit him to that. That Mike hasn't changed much, but the metal wires are now gone. The dreadlocks have morphed into a much cleaner look, and maybe he'll argue with his patients upon entering the medical field. And you also just heard from an exceptional young woman who for years kept her nose in front of a book during lunch. I'm talking about Megan Heaston, who was addicted to reading stories online during class, which was often the root of Eve and Jeff's frustrations. Remember that? Today, her hair is short, bleached in fact, and no longer hidden by a bandana, and she will continue to impress others with her profound knowledge. And of course, there are memories of staff that are imprinted in our minds. The time Molly Renner started dancing the Macarena during our bus ride in Mexico. The time Sarah Bromer would tell a story in class only to find herself blushing, and blushing even more when a student would point it out. And if there's one memory every City High student has, whether they are freshmen, sophomores, juniors, or seniors, it's always going to be Charles Schnarr making his announcements to us with his super megaphone on the first day of school. I share all of these anecdotes because we are fortunate to have such intimate memories. We are, after all, a class less than 30. And this is the benefit of going to such a small school. Throughout our time at City High, we've been taught to be aware about the world around us, to serve our community and help better our society. And I hope that compassion continues beyond graduation. But it has to be more than simple volunteering. Community service should be hard work. Think about the service project that's been mentioned a few times this morning. We worked outside of that mobile home for hours. We scrubbed the walls, picked up the cigarette butts one by one, changed the soil in the pots, dug new holes along the perimeter of the yard. And all of this started at 9 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the upcoming spring heat. And of course, there were moans along the way, but in the end, we all left proud of the impact that we had on that family. You know, my life has been all about community service and shining a light on the injustices of our society. And impact is always the thing that I pay attention to. Speeches like this are supposed to be about making a difference and being the change you want to see in the world. But how? How are we supposed to do that when those dreams, our futures, are being slashed by the people we put in office at the state capitol? This is too great of an impact. And my fellow graduates, I realize that today is about celebrating, not political bickering, but this is also an opportunity for you to truly understand that our future is being hampered with for the simple reason of balancing a budget. As recipients of a public school education, you know budget cuts will only weaken the integrity of our classrooms. These decisions will be felt all the way from preschool to middle school to the universities we will soon enter. And some of you graduates might be saying, well, what do? I can't change what's happening at the state capitol. But I recall correctly, and maybe you will too, that it is always movements of people who have shaped our history. 87 years ago on this very day, May 30th, we dedicated a memorial in Washington, D.C. to our 16th President, Abraham Lincoln. His move to end slavery in the late 1800s was a fight that would continue for decades. And on that path to freedom, the Selma to Montgomery March in 1965 represented the emotional peak of the civil rights movement. It began with some 600 civil rights marchers heading east out of Selma onto US Route 80. They got 6 blocks away, where they found state and local police officers waiting to attack them with billy clubs and tear gas and drive them back into Selma. Just days later, Martin Luther King led a second peaceful march back to that bridge where they were stopped at. But that wasn't enough. Dr. King and his followers wanted a third march. They were not done. They wanted their voice to be heard. And so, less than a week after that, 3,000 set up for Montgomery again, walking 12 miles a day, sleeping in fields, hungry, thirsty, tired. They reached the state capitol 4 days later, 25,000 strong. This is the power of people, the power of understanding that community service and activism is about pain. Those marchers knew what it was like to struggle. They knew that policies were affecting their well-being. And you should be thinking the same. My fellow graduates, because we live in an interdependent world, we cannot escape each other's problems. There's a whole world out there that needs you right now, down the street or across the ocean. So let's make an impact. Use your voice. Shout if you want to, because it will get you much farther than you expect. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today, and congratulations to this class of 2009.